I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
We're the Rambling Reviewers.
And today we're looking at My Hero Academia Season 3, except for the last episode.
Because we
just got caught up, and we're like, let's do a review. And then we looked it up, we're like, oh, there's one more coming. And then we're like, whatever, we'll just record. Because it's a tradition now. We did this with Steven Universe a moment ago.
Yeah. And look, I'm going to say the same thing I said to Sonic. I'm not saying that Steven wouldn't have been kidnapped if All Might was in Beach City. Except that I'm saying that. Steven wouldn't have been kidnapped if All Might had been in Beach City.
Don't worry, I'm here.
Because All Might is amazing, and I love him.
Yeah.
So naturally, this is the season that, we'll get to that.
Are we doing this in order?
Okay. Well, it starts with a beach episode, except it's not at a beach, it's at a pool.
That happened.
Yeah, it's just...
Then they go on this trip.
They will go on a trip, and the trip kind of underlines a real problem I have with the series. Okay, they go on this trip and they say, okay, we need you to really train you guys because the villain attacks are increasing and stuff, and this is really bad. So we're taking class 1A and 1B, we're dumping them in the middle of the wilderness, and then we're going to put you through intensive training. And it's going to be led by the Wild Wild Pussycats, who are a bunch of cat-themed heroes, and cat-themed heroines, and what I'm told is a transgender hero.
The trans girl?
Yeah.
Alright.
I'm pretty sure you can figure out which one is the trans girl.
The one who trans but doesn't necessarily pass as female, but we're not judging, it's all fine.
The one who looks as masculine as All Might.
Yep, not judging.
I'm not judging, I'm just saying that
it's very distinct. Yeah,
yeah, sure. Also looks the scariest, although that's... I think it's just the style of animation and drawing, because some people just have natural scary face.
Oh, sure. So the Pussycat team is...
Although, if I'm being perfectly honest, if a gigantic man dressed like one of the Wild Wild Pussycats came up to me and said, "Hi, I'm actually a woman," I would be terrified, although I'm not sure if... I'm pretty sure that's not homophobia, and more just I'm terrified of everyone who is in the slightest bit different, because I don't know how to handle anything.
Differenceophobia? Huh.
I think it's xenophobia, except not...
Well, seeing as you're a fan of XCOM, you can see how xenophobic...
Well, no, it's just that I don't know how to handle people who are different than... I'm like a computer program. If something is not in the exact right values... if you put a number outside of the Excel spreadsheet, it freezes up, you know?
I understand.
Yes. So it's not me being a transphobe.
It's not being hateful. It's just being unsure what to do.
It's me being awkward.
Situations. Okay.
I'm awkward and autistic, so
there you go.
Anyways, so the Wild Wild Pussycats send in like monsters to attack the kids, and they fight their way through the forest. And eventually they get there, and then their nephew, Coda, decides to punch Midoriya in the balls.
Oh, yeah.
Because fuck you, that's why.
This little kid, Coda, just hates heroes.
Yes. So naturally he decides to... Okay, I can understand he's not happy at the hero situation. I can understand him being really upset that he was dragged to a hero camp. He probably knows what these people just went through and survived it, and he just punches one of them in the balls.
So kudos to
The only thing I can think of there is that he's either really brave, really stupid, or he's actively suicidal. If he punched Bakugo there, the kid would be dead.
Oh, no.
No, yes, he would. He would absolutely be dead. Anyways, so they're there, and we see them training and stuff. And here's my problem with this series in a nutshell. We see each person undergoing individual training as assigned by the various mentors there. The problem comes in that we don't see anything like...
The mentors don't do a whole lot of training.
Yeah, it's just them standing and saying, do more of what you are currently doing. And then everyone acts later like, wow, that training really helped. But you did all of that yourself.
Once in a while.
See, when I went to school, teachers would be willing to do some one-on-one work with you. I have never seen a teacher in My Hero Academia, except for All Might and Midoriya, do any one-on-one stuff. Everyone has to do all of this stuff on their own, and if they ever get called on it, they're like, we don't hand you the answers. This is a school for heroes, and heroes don't have their answers force-fed. They're not heroes yet. They are children who are in a school to learn from more experienced heroes. In fact, this undermines the biggest argument that I had for keeping active young heroes as the teachers, instead of older, more experienced ones who are retired but are still willing to pass on their knowledge. Because if you could argue that a younger teacher would be more able to connect with the students, you know? More able to talk to them, to relate to them, because it wasn't that long ago that they were sitting where they were. But no, instead we just see Eraserhead just staring at them going, you're doing that wrong. Detention.
5 points from Gryffindor.
5 points from Gryffindor. This is... Eraserhead is like Severus Snape, but minus the bullying.
Yeah, he's...
I mean... And, okay, All Might tutors Midoriya. That's great. What about everyone else?
Well, there was actually that bit where they interned under other heroes for a little bit. And we saw some scenes of kids getting individual instruction.
Yeah, although it shouldn't... I don't think that they should outsource teaching. I mean, okay, the work progress thing, sure, fine. But each person should
the
at
school
least...
itself should also be doing teaching work. Yes, I'll give you
Yes, but not just that, but even that was highly non-standard in each of the situations. Okay, Midoriya learned how to use his new technique that allows him to use All Might's power at 5% so it doesn't make his limbs explode. That's great for him. That is wonderful for him. He learned something there. Here's the problem, though. On the other hand, Momo, who was suffering from depression at the time and had severe problems with her confidence after a humiliating defeat in the sports festival arc, and was seriously considering leaving heroism altogether because of how bad she felt and how useless she felt, was used by her mentor as a model. Okay, and I'm not saying that she's not beautiful. She is honestly the most attractive girl in the class, but here's the thing. That wasn't what she signed up for. She signed up to be a better hero, not to sell shampoo.
You know, I'm not sure I can name a school in fiction, at least, you know, where people are learning something unusual, where they are taught in a reasonable, competent manner.
Hogwarts.
No, because fucking everything can kill you at Hogwarts.
Okay, but we actually do see the teachers teaching them.
That's true.
So that is an example where, yes, I can see they actually...
Like for some reason there's a deadly tree in the front yard, but like, okay, fine.
Okay, yes, but the teachers were doing their jobs
there. The teachers
there.
were doing some regular teaching.
Okay, most of the teachers were doing their regular jobs, barring Gildor Lockhart, Severus Snape, what is the... Trelawney, Umbridge...
Oh, definitely Umbridge.
And whoever the Death Eaters were in the 7th year that Harry wasn't there for.
Oh, right, those people.
Yeah. So, but aside from them, there was teaching. We saw lessons where Harry and Hermione and Ron were practicing spells that they learned from a teacher.
It's true.
When was the last time in this show we saw someone going, okay, here's the quadratic formula?
Well, I'm sure they'd like to see something more hero-related, but yeah, like, okay, here's fight style A versus B, and how to do this specific thing when the wind is high, or something.
Tactics, or something. I mean, I get that everyone has
a good example is going to be Battle School from Ender's Game.
Okay, Battle School, yes. Yeah. Although I don't actually remember the people teaching there, so...
Well... Okay, you were assigned to your platoon, and your platoon leader would, like, tell you how to do things.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Battle School did help you learn. And I'm sure... Actually, yeah, they did expand on... Some of the other books in the series did expand on that they were taught in those schools. Mm-hmm. So, okay. Okay, so Battle School. So we have Hogwarts and Battle School. But But yeah, just, I don't remember any of these teachers doing anything other than, we're here to do some wacky shenanigans today.
I admit, it doesn't make sense.
And just... It's just really frustrating to me, because they have so many opportunities for stories here. Like, Vlad King, the 1B teacher. What is he like? What is his teaching style? Midnight, what does she teach? I mean, we know that Present Mike teaches English. Okay, fine. Do something with that! Don't just have them be an obstacle for whatever random test of the week that the school has concocted and decided.
The test is never the test of English anyway. It's a test against fighting robots or something.
Yeah. I mean, oh, Jesus.
I guess, it feels... I guess one of the problems the writers are running into there is a broader version of unspoken plan guarantee. If they're going to learn specific tactics that come up later on, then it'll be less exciting when you're like, oh, here we are later on, and they're using strategy delta like we totally saw before. Now, it's possible to make that work if but they're using strategy delta, but they've also come up with a unique spin on that to make it work better than you maybe were expecting. But that takes more thinking on the part of the writer. It's easier to have them rush in and be like, what do we do? What do we do? Oh, wait, we came with this thing out of nowhere that we've never shown the audience before, so it's 100% new to them. You see what I'm saying?
Well, okay. Ultimately, it goes back to my problem with a lot of animes that are about wake up, go to school, save the world. What point does the school serve in this, other than to inject slice-of-life comedy? I mean, I'm glad that they stopped having people go to classes in RWBY by the time Season 2 ended, just because nothing about the classes mattered there. Mm-hmm. And they completely abandoned it by Season 3. Just the same thing is here. Why do we bother with these teachers if they don't do anything? Why do we bother having them attend class or live in a dorm if we're not going to use them in any sort of capacity? Other than, if you're not going to use them, might as well just ship Izuku off to Gran Torino and have him train under Gran Torino for the rest of the series.
He could have done that, but it would have been less people to talk to for that series. So
I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a lot of people to talk to if you're not going to use them.
Well, okay.
I get that part of the problem is that it's a weekly serial, so you can't really go into, and then this character did this, and this character did this. But it just doesn't feel like they have a point in this story. At best, it feels like they don't have a point. At worst, it feels like they're not doing their jobs.
They being the teachers.
Yes.
Primarily Eraserhead, who's the one who keeps showing up and glaring at people.
Yeah, but we don't see anyone else do anything. It's just...
Yeah, we just see them set up challenges, which is important. You need someone to create the conditions of the test. We don't see them teach very much. I will give you that. So, yeah, no, I would have liked to see the teachers doing more stuff that way and developing relationships as they do that, and someone's like, okay, I can't learn from teacher X, but I can learn from teacher Y because they teach better, they transfer over, you have them tutor them something after school,
Yeah, want to know what is honestly the saddest thing about this whole teacher thing? The best relationship between a teacher and a student that isn't All Might and Midoriya, it's Uraraka and Gunhead.
Yeah.
Gunhead doesn't even work at this school.
True.
He owns his own dojo off-site. So the best relationship between the faculty and a faculty member and a student isn't even part of the faculty.
And yeah, I was on there for a couple episodes.
It's like... I want to like every part of every show that I watch. I do. But these things just keep happening, and they keep...
That's why we gotta make our own shows, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're in the forest, and the League of Villains attacks. And guess what? Time for another rant!
Okay.
I am just so fucking sick of the League of Villains. Okay? I know that there's going to be another villain group that's coming up in like the next season or two. But here's the thing. The only villain group that we've ever seen in the show thus far are the League of Villains. And it just gets kind of annoying to keep running into them. Like, even Pokemon, the anime, in the early days, didn't just have, okay, Team Rocket appears again. No, they had other things, like wild Pokemon that were running rampant. Or some guy wants to build a dam, and he has to be convinced that this is a bad idea because it would cause environmental damage. Stuff like that. But if you keep using the same villain threat over and over and over again, it wears out the welcome, and it makes the bad guys look really incompetent if they can't win.
I would like to see more variety in the villains.
Thank you.
Well, wait, not... Stain was not part of the group, but he was a separate villain. But yeah, we could do even more variety than that.
But even Stain's appearance was tainted by the League of Villains, who sent out a bunch of Nomus in order to make people forget about Stain.
That's true.
So it's like, yes, I am an interesting concept and original. Oh, no, wait, sorry. We almost had something unique and different for the show. We have to shove the League in just to make sure you don't forget what you're watching. You know, given the fact that apparently everyone repeats their motivations 5 times a fucking day, which is another thing that bugs me about this show. Everyone always has to narrate about, I want to become a hero. Really? Is that why you're here? Oh, I thought this was a school for cooking. I was wondering when we were getting to the souffles. Well, pardon me. I have to go, Mr. All Might. But I said good day, sir. It's just... I want to like it, but God, everyone's an idiot. Anyways.
I wonder what would happen if you just cut off all the extraneous speeches.
Honestly, you'd probably have a 5-minute season.
Yeah, very short.
Anyway, so the thing that's different about this villain attack is that it's in the middle of a nighttime exercise where everyone's out jogging this course in the middle of the night where scary people are trying to jump out at the students, and the villains decide to kidnap Bakugo.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's apparently a value for some reason. Okay, in reality, it's because they think his personality is most like that of a villain.
Yeah.
And I think once the author has written, okay, this character who's supposed to be sympathetic is so bad that even the villains think that he'd be a good addition to their team, you should stop what you're doing immediately. And so once they get back, everyone's really upset because, well, the villains hurt a lot of people from 1B, and people were fighting, and everything was bad and stuff.
They saved Bakugo, by the way. Did we get to all that?
No, because that's the next mini arc.
Oh, wait, that's right. No, yeah, they nearly saved it. They had 2 people at one point, didn't they? And they saved the other guy.
I forget if it was Tokoyami, or someone else.
And also, we got things resolved with Koda, the kid who punches people. So thanks.
Yeah, it turns out that his parents had been killed in a villain attack, and everyone were telling him how brave and wonderful his parents were. Meanwhile, he had the perfectly reasonable reaction of, I don't fucking care how wonderful and dutiful they were in doing their duties as a hero. I just want my parents back, but they're fucking dead.
Yeah.
So he decided to take it out on all heroes, which I think is honestly how most supervillains get their start. Seriously, why is no one putting this kid in therapy? He just lost his parents.
Yeah.
God damn it, Japan.
I was actually glad in this last episode we just saw when All Might makes a comment about how, we the adults did not see to the kid's mental health adequately enough. It was like, oh hey, belatedly starting to get this theme going on. All right.
Yeah. Oh jeez. So anyway, Izuku saves Koda, but he shreds his arms in the process, and he gets told, if you ever use your arms again for one-for-all punches, you will be your arms will be permanently disabled. Which means that he eventually realizes he can kick people.
Hey.
Meanwhile, everyone starts to act like an idiot. Basically, everyone in Class 1A says, well, we need to go out and rescue him. But then everyone else runs. Then someone else pops in and says, no, we can't because we're not allowed to use quirks outside of class. which is an okay sentiment. The manga does explain that was part of a set of draconian laws that were put in place just because it's hard to put in simple things and deciding where the line needs to be drawn in terms of quirk use outside. Mm-hmm. But then someone, Su-chan, the frog girl, says the dumbest thing in the entire history of this show. And yes, I am including Bakugo can be a hero in that list of sentences that is extremely stupid and terrible. She says, if we use our quirks outside of school without supervision, we're as bad as the villains.
I think that comes up slightly later, doesn't it? In the Rescuing Bakugo mini arc?
Yeah, it is, but when they're all in the hospital just before that.
Yeah, that made absolutely no sense.
No. Oh. You are not... There is a name for people who use their powers for personal ambition and greed and to hurt and dominate. Okay, well, not necessarily personal ambition and greed, but who use their powers to hurt people. They're called villains. There's also a name for those who use their powers and special abilities to rescue people who have been kidnapped by villains. They're called heroes. Right. Using your powers outside of class does not make you a villain.
At worst, it makes you a vigilante rather than like a professional hero. And you could say that there are downsides to the vigilante type thing, but not as so bad as being a villain.
Yeah, this is a kind of a black and white thing that I've noticed in a lot of Japanese stuff. They tend not to deal with moral gray area as well. Well, I've seen Western stuff, and I haven't seen much anime that deals with moral gray area as well, compared to Western style stuff, which does deal with moral gray areas.
You think so?
Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. He was wrestling. Oh wait, no, that's a bad one.
Moral gray.
Korra, Babylon 5. Yes, Babylon 5.
So anyway.
Oh yes, Babylon 5. Anyways, so when we last left off, Sheridan had just sacrificed White Star 1. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong series. Wait, what am I saying? It is the right series, but not the one we're talking about at the moment.
Because we're the series, right? The series the city needs, but not the ones it deserves, or something.
Oh, it absolutely deserves Babylon 5. Anyway, so eventually, Todoroki, the half and half guy, Momo, the girl with the skimpy outfit, with the justifiably skimpy outfit.
Yes.
Ida, the speedy guy, and Izuku and Kaminari, who is the hardening guy, all sneak out and say, fuck that, fuck society's rules, and fuck all of you, and go to rescue Bakugo. And they make a pretty good job of it, even though everything else goes horribly wrong. League of Villains is dismantled for all of 5 minutes by the pro heroes before they manage to teleport everyone away. Wait, All For One manages to teleport everyone to safety, which just feels like blue balling to me.
What do you mean?
I mean, we were so close to getting rid of stupid Facepalm Man.
Oh.
Forever. And no! We had to steal them away and rescue them. Then All For One steals away one of the Wild Wild Pussycat's quirks. And we get the final battle between All For One and All Might. And he reveals, hey, Captain Facepalm, the annoying fucker who keeps talking about video games and disintegrating things. He's your mentor's grandson. And I brainwashed him and turned him into a villain because I'm evil. No, literally, he says, I thought of what would make you feel most hateful. And I did that.
Yeah, it comes off cooler when he says it.
Yeah, I mean, it also seems like a lot of work.
Oh, yes.
I don't know. For some reason, I keep thinking, whenever I hear of these plans, yeah, but wouldn't it have been easier to... I don't know. I don't think I've ever hated someone so much that I would do half the shit that they pull in villains comics and stuff.
Even in real life,
just like
if you're like a crazy person wanting to do evil, good luck selecting somebody's grandson and turning him to evil. Like, you could plan this out in advance or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you couldn't do this. It's just that I think that I would get bored of it like after the first week.
We have some very determined evil people here.
Yeah. So just like, yes, now I will... Huh. You know what? I'm kind of getting sick of this. But yeah, the final battle. And All Might finally does the United States of Smash. His last attack. And it's really big and significant. And honestly, I really wish the fight scene was better. Yeah. Oh, I mean, the dialogue was good. But as I said before to you, one of the problems with all My Hero Academia is that most of the fight scenes exist to
carry the story
rather than show off a fight.
I'll grant you.
Okay, pure mindless action isn't a good thing necessarily, but at the same time, if you're going to show a fight, show me a fight.
I mean, it's a lot more of a fight than you get out of a DBZ or something. But I'll grant you it's not nearly as intricate as you'd get from Ruby.
Or Legend of Korra.
Or Korra, maybe even.
Or just regular Avatar.
I want to go see Korra and this back-to-back, what the fights look like. Because I tend to be impressed, but I get you, there's a lot of, like, what they're doing is putting details into one specific punch, rather than choreographing a long, complex stream of attacks back and forth.
Which my problem with it is that they tend to have like whole paragraphs of dialogue in between each punch, and that tends to interrupt the flow of the fight. So it's punch, punch, punch.
Still feels a lot better to me than DBZ, though, where they will really just stand around actually staring at each other, saving on the budget.
Okay, yeah, some of those fights aren't that bad, but I agree with you on Dragon Ball Z. The problem is that it makes these, if you're not invested in what they're talking about, if you disagree with their points of view and find them to be fundamentally wrong, you find yourself wanting to skip over those parts because they're not going to convince you. Because, as I said, Japanese anime tends to have a very black and white presentation of things.
I can come up with some counterexamples.
So
later,
you basically you get the same conversation between All for One and All Might. Ha ha ha! I am evil. I brainwashed your mentor's grandson. Ha ha ha! I am evil. I will live forever. Ha ha ha! You are powerless now. And you got that like 5 or 6 times over the course of the fight, while All Might is going, even if I am hurt, I will continue to fight.
Yeah.
Like multiple times. And it's the same thing again and again. And in between each punch, it's, we have to have a flashback to this other thing that shows how determined they are. Which is why I really liked the All Might versus the Nomu fight, because they didn't have that.
Yeah.
It was punch, 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 with a side of punch. Because it felt like a fight. Because fights are very quick things.
I'll give you that. I'll give you there's a lot of stopping, going to slow-mo in the middle of a bit while somebody monologues their thoughts, either externally or internally. Either way, we have to listen to it. Interesting. I like the thoughts themselves, though, enough that I can work with this. All Might giving it his all for the final battle to finally take down his old nemesis, using his most powerful attacker, the United States of Smash, and then holding on to his muscle form just a few more seconds so we can point to the camera and say, next up, it's you, is just so meaningful. And I honestly thought he was going to die in that fight. It was just so climactic. I thought he would say that one last line and fall over dead.
Kind of a Kamina style thing?
Kind of Kamina
later,
style.
buddy?
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, why is it raining in here? Why are my eyes wet thinking of Kamina? Okay, the end of the fight was good. The problem was that it took so long to get there, with him standing on that one piece of land that hadn't been blasted, and All for One just standing there lecturing him, that it just didn't feel like a fight so much as two old people bitching at each other about how, remember when we had that argument like 6 years ago? Yeah, you're still wrong, you whippersnapper. Yeah, I'm gonna deck you across the face with the United States of Smash.
I wish we had a little animated segment just for that.
Oh my god, I wish we had animated segments for half the shit we came up
with.
But anyways, so after that, we actually start getting consequences. Basically, the school says, okay, you idiots broke the rules and rescued Bakugo, which, by the way, they rescued Bakugo.
Oh, yeah. They did a whole like strategic thing for that too. I like that.
And they rescued him, but they got in trouble for it because they had the audacity to do what the other heroes couldn't do. How dare you show us up by being effective? Anyway, so they get in trouble and they get detention or something. And then the school says, okay, we know we can't protect them either on the grounds, as the USJ showed, or when we're guarding them outside of the grounds. So all of the students should live on the grounds because we are the best at decision making. And yeah, they move into a new set of dorm rooms, and everyone shows off their dorm and how it reflects their personality.
We should mention that All Might retired, by the way.
Oh yeah, All Might retired
because he lays up the last of his power, basically. He gets to do like 10 seconds of muscle time, yeah.
And finally, then they go into a training room where they're able to work on their ultimate moves solo without any teacher aid whatsoever because fuck these teachers.
Except All Might vaguely helping out Midoriya.
Oh wow, All Might helping out Midoriya. Yeah, I'm sure there aren't other students who would also like help. That's favoritism, and I don't abide by it. It's wrong, man. I mean, okay, I understand why he's doing it. It's just that he's working for the school as a teacher for multiple students, not just Midoriya.
Yeah, I mean, this is partly coming out of just the plot, focusing on Midoriya that way. And also, it's got to be slightly odd when... So normally, you know, the teacher is teaching students. The students are not so different from the teacher, as is the case here, where everyone is a completely different quirk from everyone else. Which, you know, logically you just find teachers who could, like, bridge that gap and figure out how the students work. But it would, again, take more effort on the part of the writers to be like, okay, so now Eraserhead has to figure out how something very specific works about Bakugo's power so we can tell him more details about how to use that power that he himself has never used. You could make it work, but it just requires more thought, you know?
How I could say that, I could agree with that, except that as All Might is a very experienced hero. He's probably worked alongside dozens, hundreds, thousands of different heroes, so he's probably seen something similar to what each of his students can do, and might be able to point them in the direction of video archives of like, oh, Momo, you can create stuff out of your skin. I knew a guy who could create toxic gas out of his skin. Why don't you try something like that?
Please put the gas mask on first. Yes.
Yeah. Lightning Dude, you create lightning. I knew a guy who had metal cable launchers, and he used a taser along with that. Maybe you could go talk to the support department and see if that might be something you'd be interested in learning how to use.
I agree. Because that would expand the world too.
Yeah,
I mean, there's even more heroes that we haven't heard of who are working in other countries or whatever.
Plus, I'm working with this guy on a fan fiction, and for Worm, and there's two people who are there, and we had two different ways of showing they know how to work with powers. The first was Taylor Hebert, and she's just naturally really good at figuring out how powers do what they do, kind of like Izuku. The other person was one who had been shuffled around to a bunch of different superhero bases over the years. And so I gave her the ability to say, oh, okay, so here's something that I've seen done before. I can adjust to it because I have experience in watching either a hero or a villain doing something similar. There's intuitive, like Izuku, or someone could pass on their experience, which is what a teacher is supposed to do. And, I mean, hell, Eraserhead doesn't necessarily have to work on quirks there. I mean, he could just say, okay, basically my fighting style is unarmed combat. Who here could use that help? The tail guy could use the unarmed combat thing. Mineta, the great boy, the hardening guy. All of those could use help with unarmed combat as it would augment their skills.
I agree. They should have done that.
But no, but eventually this is where Izuku gets the idea that, hey, if I can't punch, I can kick! Because Izuku is the smartest yet dumbest character. Instead of, I don't know, using a gun.
Nobody ever uses guns in superhero land.
No, the thing was, someone actually did use a gun in the forest, and they called him a coward for it. I'm like, really? You have a weapon that is capable of instantly murdering someone, and of course it's a coward's weapon? You know, I would just love for the Doom Marine to be here.
Well, Doom Marine and just using the like dialogue from Doom comic style, just be like,
oh my
have
God,
to get
yes.
good, must get good.
Rip and tear your guts. You are huge. That means you have huge guts. Oh my God. Anyway, so they create their ultimate moves, which really isn't. Really, none of them have really great ultimate moves.
Well, they were interesting though. They were new things.
Yeah. Then the last part of the arc is a series of tests where they have to go through another tournament, just like the sports arc tournament. And it's more of them fighting each other. Again. You know, I'm not against fighting, but just something to develop the characters outside of their quirks.
You get some of their backstories and stuff.
Okay, yes, their backstories. How about we take a bunch of these kids and follow them through a normal day?
Oh, that could be nice.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, the I Cannot Stop Twinkling kid waking up, watering the plants, going to visit his mom in the hospital. Because she just gave birth to his baby brother, and he's really excited about that. Talking to his dad, because his dad is overseas, and it's on a video call. I don't know. Just, it feels like we're going from one action scene to the other.
And your other complaint, though, is that the action is muddled too much with the character building. We could have the character building segments here, and then the big old fight scene there, where we already know everybody's thoughts and motivations. They don't need to like spell it out for us between every punch.
Exactly.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unless you read the manga, you probably didn't even know that, jeez, what is her goddamn... Momo had problems with her being depressed. Because the anime skipped over it
For the most
largely.
part,
Yeah. Which is kind of a shame because, honestly, her character is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and not just because of the costume.
Yes.
And the body. But
I know what you meant.
like, her quirk... All of these abilities are interesting. They come with drawbacks and ways to use them in interesting fashions.
She could be very creative with that quirk.
Exactly. And that quirk requires creativity to do it. It's not just the same thing over and over again.
The closest thing we have to a Green Lantern ring.
Or alchemists.
Or alchemists. Yeah. Yeah, she could hang out with the Full Metal Alchemist and be like, wow, you can do things without a summoning circle.
Yeah. Or she could, like, provide them materials for their work. Anyways, and yeah, the test goes on and on and on, and Bakugo and Todoroki and this other guy that looks like M. Bison don't get their titles.
I mean, there was a lot of detail in the middle there that I found cool. This whole thing where they had to throw the orange balls and not get hit, and then the Sparkle guy having his day in the sun, and then the whole thing of the rescue operations, and you know, some acknowledgement of like, you know, there's more details to this than just fighting. You got to figure out if someone's injured, how to move them properly.
Although one thing that did bug me is that they were saying, if you have your provisional license, you should know how to treat an injured person. But this is the test for them to get a provisional license.
Yeah, I'm going to take that as a slight mistranslation. If you want to get your provisional license, you should know how to do these things.
Okay, yeah, that's better. Then it's revealed that this guy that looks like M. Bison, who is super into passion for some reason and has the lamest reason for hating Todoroki that I've ever heard in my life, Basically, Endeavor had a mean look in his eyes and didn't give you his autograph. That's it. That's why he hates Todoroki.
I mean, Todoroki was
I am not kidding.
Mean, but yeah, it was pretty small.
And yet he basically scraps both of their efforts to get a license because of that. And it's just, why? Why?
It was neat, though, seeing them fail, and they were so dominant at first.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Bakugo didn't win either because he didn't rescue anyone, because he is a bastard.
Because he's Bakugo. So it was like, hey, Bakugo failed. What do you know?
Then we get another... I cannot stand this fight, but Bakugo and Izuku go back to one of the training grounds, breaking in at night, and they start fighting because... I don't know, Bakugo feels personally slighted that Izuku is, like, beating him, which is the worst sore loser behavior I've ever seen.
It is Bakugo.
And he gives the one and only bit of character development that I've actually seen work for him. He reveals that he's actually feeling really bad inside because he thinks that because he was kidnapped, All Might lost his power, and he was a huge fan of All Might.
It was really interesting.
Yeah, it was. For 7 seconds. And then he went back to, but I can't be surpassed, so I'll kill you.
I saw some more layers of subtlety in there. It was, I mean, and Midoriya sort of acknowledged this in some of his internal monologuing, which is he's going along with the fight partly just to let Bakugo, like, blow off steam. Which, being Bakugo, that would be, like, his only method for blowing off steam, is just exploding things. And I found it was interesting, the way these characters relate to each other, and it being sort of hateful on the surface, but you see they had established a deeper bond underneath. And
an unhealthy bond.
And some, obviously, if you take, a more realistic perspective on it. Look, Bakugo was a terrible bully to Midoriya, and still hasn't apologized for that. So... that's really problematic.
Why is this a thing in anime where the worst bully and the main hero will always become best friends and rivals? I mean, that makes no sense. You know what I did to my bullies? I ignored them. And I walked away.
Yep.
And I never spoke to them again. And I was happy. But no, these people will seek out their bullies and not stop until the bully acknowledges how awesome they are.
Which is an unhealthy thing to do in real life. Because you can easily put yourself in a codependent position, begging for the bully's approval, which they just keep on withholding. And, don't do that.
That's an abusive relationship in a nutshell.
That is. Honestly, well, so, like, part of what I'm doing is airbrushing this out to be like, okay, ignoring the fact that Bakugo had ever bullied him as a kid. And just being, okay, a new version of Bakugo who just wants to be the best and has a chip on his shoulder because he can't be the best.
So ignoring, like, 90% of their life story.
I mean, this is what
he's a nice guy.
I'm not saying he's a good guy overall.
Ignoring the part where he abuses animals and, like, lights fires, he seems perfectly emotionally stable.
I didn't say he was perfectly emotionally stable.
No, I know.
But,
I'm not saying he's emotionally stable. I'm just saying what you just said was extremely ridiculous. And I'm mocking it.
Okay, well. I just found the fight really interesting.
Again, we ran into the problem of paragraph and a half in between each hit. And
that also
yes,
happened.
the strikes were interesting in and of themselves, but here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you both liked All Might when you were kids. So did Stain, the serial killer. Just because you both liked a hero does not mean that you're a good person.
I don't think that was the argument.
Just because you both liked something doesn't mean that you should not ever be around each other again. I'm sorry, this just really, really makes me mad that like, this is something that's constantly pushed, that they're friends, when there is no reason for them to be friends. There is no reason for them to interact with each other for any reason. Bakugo hates Midoriya, so he abuses Midoriya. That seems like a healthy and rational thing to do if you want to be a hero. No, wait, that seems like a thing you do if you're insane or cruel. And Midoriya just keeps calling him his friend, and it's just... No. This is unhealthy.
I'll admit it doesn't make sense. I would love to have seen a proper redemption arc for Bakugo.
You know what? Forget the... one common fandom thing is to swap Mineta with that guy with the mind control voice.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, because that guy was popular and had an interesting backstory, and he had a thing of overcoming people thinking he was a villain. And people wanted to see more of him, but he hasn't shown up since he first appeared in the sports arc. Meanwhile, Mineta is a pervy little weirdo troll thing that keeps getting used for cringeworthy comedy, so people want to switch them. Switch the mind control voice guy with Bakugo. I don't care if they bring up the argument, you have to learn to work with heroes you don't necessarily like.
No, because, yeah, you could do a much better job with a situation where there's some other guy who, you know, him and Midoriya kind of get into a fight early on, but it's kind of, they both made mistakes, they're both good people, and they both kind of have to learn to be better and understand each other and become friends as the series progresses. You could do that in a way that would make a lot more sense and be a lot more healthy. And instead, they went with Bakugo does so much evil and has never apologized for it. And, you know, we shouldn't just be ignoring the total lack of, you know, understanding on his part of as to what he's done and how, and frankly, Midoriya is shrugging off the wounds in an unrealistically amazing way.
But what really pisses me off about the whole thing is that then All Might comes in and says, I'm sorry, Bakugo. I didn't see that you were trying too. What? You're rewarding him? At no point did Midoriya ever say, there's this guy named Bakugo, the reason I have wounds on my face is because he exploded me. I don't want to live in this world. The Baku no Hero, My Hero Academia world. Because apparently that is acceptable behavior. Just...
Yeah, right, it's not acceptable. It should not be acceptable.
I'm sorry, I'm just really mad.
Yeah.
But overall, I like these last few episodes. No, seriously, I have enjoyed this season. It's just that it has some problems. Some rather... 90% of everything is good. It's just that the 10% is really, really frustrating to me for a lot of reasons.
Like I keep saying, I can't really ignore that there are problems there. Absolutely. Gotta make our own show, man. Or several shows. Make a studio. I don't know. Or write books. Any number of cool things.
So, do you have anything to say about this? Anything to rant about?
I mean, I'm not as angry about it as you are, but even though I recognize the same principles that you do. Yeah, I guess a lot of what I do is thinking, okay, taking some... I can pick out the elements and the ideas I really like amidst all this other stuff that doesn't make sense or isn't right or is actually quite unhealthy. And then I imagine a better version of the story, which has taken those elements and done something, you know, made it more a complete picture out of it. So the idea of a guy having this real tough guy persona, and he's working hard to make the best, and he puts people off all the time, and then it turns out he's got this vulnerability underneath him, and he really feels guilty about this other thing, and this fight between him and Midoriya becoming actually a bonding experience as Midoriya realizes, oh, the guy's kind of just venting, and this is okay, I can let him vent. In this other scenario where this other guy is doing all that, these are some really interesting ideas. So that's, I was like, I'm admiring that. But yeah, you're pointing at all these things that is entirely unhealthy and ought to have been done better. I agree.
Maybe I'm just getting stuff off my chest. Maybe I'm just venting for the sake of...
But you got these are in meaningful points you're bringing up, and to the extent that we discuss, not we just, you and I, but other people discuss how media affects people or expresses certain values or whatever, where folks have, there's so many damsels in distress, we need to, like, bring in more women who are action heroes and stuff like that. It's not just about things like gender and sexual orientation, those other categories that are most obvious. It's also about these dynamics of, well, how do we deal with other people? How do we deal with the jerks in our midst? What does it count for somebody, how would you earn forgiveness properly and so forth? And to the extent that writers skip over this stuff or do it wrong, they can end up sending bad messages that can actually be really unhealthy. Look, I'll jump track a bit to the redemption of Darth Vader in Star Wars Original Trilogy. If you kind of think of this as a story about Anakin, the main character, who has done evil things and then chooses to do good again, that's good. I like that. But if you think of this as a story, and I say this loving Star Wars, where Luke is the main character and his father is evil, and he thinks if he just begs his father to stop being evil, then, like, at the last moment his father will change his ways all of a sudden, that's actually really unhealthy. Because there are plenty of people in real life with abusive parents who spend their whole lives, decades and decades, thinking, no, if I just do what he asks and I do all the favors and everything, then finally I'll get recognized as being the good son or the good daughter or whatever. And, you could be like, you're 60 years old and finally your abusive dad passes away and they never gave you the acknowledgement you deserved and they never apologized for what they did wrong. And it can be very important to walk away if you've got, like, a truly abusive parent, who just will not see what they've done wrong, will not make genuine amends and so forth. And if you've got your dad is, like, the number 1 or number 2 commander of the evil empire that blows up planets and kills innocent people all the time, that's a pretty high on the scale of evil, logically speaking. So you could argue you're sending a negative message with that. I like the idea that a bad person can be redeemed, but not that someone else could force the redemption on them. It has to be their own inner choice. There's only so much that outside forces can do. So, yeah, much as I love Star Wars, if I want to get into it, there's something there that does not logically add up and could, in fact, lead people to do make bad choices in the real world. Which relates again to what we were complaining about the latest Steven Universe episode. Yeah. It's like, Yellow Diamond did not earn redemption right there. Like, I'm sorry.
Blue Diamond didn't earn redemption.
Nor did Blue, but Yellow's the worst example. Because she was more active about blowing up the planet. And, like, that's a bad lesson.
Just because someone... And it wasn't like Yellow Diamond was doing this because she had a change of heart.
Yeah, no, I could love to see a story about that.
She was like Gul Dukat. She happens to... Gul Dukat after he was exiled from Cardassia in Deep Space Nine. It wasn't that he had stopped being the person who had overseen the extermination camps and labor camps of Bajor. It wasn't that he'd stopped being the man who had raped untold numbers of Bajoran women and had fathered bastards with them and had done unspeakable crimes to their planet. He hadn't stopped any of that. And yet we have the heroes working alongside him. Not because he happens to be he's not our friend now. He just happens to be in a position where we could use him. That is what Yellow and Blue Diamond are right now. And they've made no attempt to say that we are your friends now. The only reason they stopped attacking Steven was because he was actually pink. If he had just been some random kid, they would have continued until everyone was dead. I am 100% convinced of this.
And so everyone shouldn't be so chill as they were portrayed in the last episodes. That whole rant has already been recorded. Yeah.
But as this relates to Bakugo, he has had one moment in the entire franchise where he wasn't two moments where he wasn't a screaming metal barbed wire douche. The first time was when he was a child and he was too innocent to know better. The second was when he reveals to the audience that he feels guilty about his role in All Might losing his powers. That's it.
Yeah, he needed more than that.
And even on either side of him revealing that was, I'll kill you, I can't be lesser than you, I'll kill you. I said it twice because it's really most of what he says.
Yes, it is. Yeah, the guy's crazy.
You need to... Redemption isn't a magical phrase that absolves you of sin. It's something that you have to work for. Every day, knowing your crimes. You have to feel genuine remorse for every second of what you did.
You know, I liked at the end of Harry Potter where he says, look, Voldemort, if you want to, change, you have to show some remorse. Voldemort just stares at him. And then they fight, and Voldemort dies.
That one was actually pretty close to a Baku no Hero, a My Hero Academia fight. It was Harry and Voldemort suddenly start circling each other while talking about how Harry had the Elder Wand connection, and he was the true master of the wand, and then they fire one spell at each other, and Voldemort dies. I actually saw someone do half of that conversation, and then Harry moved into the right spot. Voldemort just summons a bunch of cutlery, and Harry dies with a bunch of knives in his back. And then Voldemort wins because Harry couldn't shut the fuck up and do what needed to be done. By the way, throwing out a recommendation here, check out the Dom Reviews Harry Potter-thon, which covers all 8 Harry Potter films and how they compare as film adaptations to the Harry Potter books. They're really good, really well researched, and you should definitely go and watch them.
Cool. I'll look that up later.
Please do. I'm absolutely serious. I will write it down for you because...
Okay, yeah, you do that. I can look it up.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the description of this, too.
All right. Now I really need to look it up.
Okay. So, but yeah, redemption... Yeah, okay, even leaving what you said in mind, Anakin's probably going to be spending a lot of time in hell for what he did.
I would, honestly, if I were writing the novelization or something, I would add in, like, okay, there's like a Jedi purgatory where you have to go, like, work off your sins now or something.
Exactly. I mean, he was good in the end, but it was the middle pit that we kind of had a problem with.
He had done quite a lot. And
okay,
to be fair, Bakugo hasn't, like, slaughtered millions, but, hasn't been a great guy.
There's no water in there. You go get some water. Go get some water.
Okay.
So while he goes to get some water, yeah, look, just, God damn it.
Yeah, it's hard as a solo act, isn't it?
Fuck off.
No, obviously, we were running out of material anyway.
Yeah, let's just, actually, I think we've said all we needed to say. Honestly, we liked Season 3.
Yeah.
We just pick apart everything because, well, several reasons. One, there's some cultural dissonance in regards to anime and in regards to our upbringing middle-class Midwesterners. 2, the pacing of these shows is not something we're big into because, quite frankly, you could have done a lot of this in maybe half the episodes if you didn't have to include them saying the same goddamn lines over and over again and flashing back to shit we've seen before. And 3, we just like to complain.
That's why we have a review show.
Yay. Anyways, I think we're done here, so because his voice is about to give out, I'm Sith King.
I'm Sogzons.
And we're signing off.